All right, so my experience with Arrow Up over the course of 2 years was this amazing sports radio show. You guys kind of took, talking about sports in Sachem to a new level that we kind of haven't seen before in WSHR. One of my favorite moments with Arrow Up was with you, Brian, going on the air right before, was that Christmas break?
Yes.
Right, so that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
So this year I met the gentleman from Arrow Up. It was a great experience. I've been on the radio before, but these guys really nailed it in terms of the personalities, the conversations, the flow. It was very impressive. I really enjoyed my time. And after the first meeting, the guys from Arrow Up, I made sure I went back to my office. I spoke to Mr. Laura and I spoke to my secretary and said, I want to schedule a meeting with these young men, once a month. Let's go on the radio and talk on Arrow Up because we're providing such great information to the school community. So I want to thank them for that.
So my experience with Arrow Up was, I was intimidated at first. I got approached by a few young gentlemen to go on the radio, and the first show that I went on was about our open school night, which I thought was a great idea. We've never done that before on the radio station. And then I was asked again to go on for a Christmas special, which happened to be like the most fun I've had yet. But absolutely unbelievable experience to be on the radio.
When Aiden and I sat down and thought about a show idea, when Aiden Story and I sat down, we noticed that there's something missing from Sachem North, and there hadn't been a show to talk about sports in Sachem, to talk about community events in a very long time, and we knew someone had to bring that back. So I remember sitting down in a room with Aiden Story and our OWE at the time, John Fitzgerald, and talking about how are we going to bring this back? How are we going to make WSHR have a show that they can remember?
My experience with Arrow Up, I remember, I was just hanging out with Brian one day, and he said he had a radio show, and he asked if I would come on, and talk about flag football, and, it was our first year of flag football, and, he gave me a quick interview, and it was awesome just to be in a radio station, seeing the boards and the mics and, just how professional it was run, and it was a great time. I can't deny that. These guys, knew what they were doing, and it was, very professionally ran, and, my experience was nothing but great times with them.
So how I got to Arrow Up is obviously a little bit different from the rest of the group. I didn't take the class the first year, but I've always been close with Brian and Alex, two of my closest friends, and they were obviously running the show a year prior. So being in the studio with them a couple times, checking it out, I thought it was really cool, and I was really excited to decide to take the class the next year in my senior year. And I found myself in a great group, great environment with a bunch of great guys. Obviously, Tim transitioned from another group as well, and I'm really fortunate to have that opportunity. Obviously, I didn't take the class the first year, like I said, and I got to meet a lot of great new staff and teachers and people we interviewed with this group, and I kind of got to get the real full experience that maybe not all students got to get with Arrow Up, and it just shows how special this group was, and I was very fortunate to find myself here.
Yeah, my experiences with Arrow Up definitely, I think, started during the Sachem North basketball games. Being at the scorer's table, announcing the games and keeping score. The boys were always kind of over the shoulder. I would always hear them doing the games and announcing it in a very professional manner, almost like a regular NBA or any other basketball game. Alex's halftime interviews with Mr. Mali were always interesting. The Sachem North boys struggled a little bit, so asking some of those hard-hitting questions, Alex stayed professional and, always got some great answers. So, anytime I ever put on Arrow Up, it was always, the word I keep going back to is professional. Just a great job. I was super impressed that, a group of high school boys could pull that off in such a fine manner. So, all my interactions with Arrow Up were professional and well beyond their years. So it was a great run for those guys.
My path to Arrow Up was it was a special one. Remember it was last year. I wasn't originally in the class. I was taking physics, and that didn't pan out too well for me. So I got in touch with my buddy Brian, and I was like, hey, I'm looking for an everyday class, 4th period. Do you have anything that might fit in for me? And he tells me, I'm taking this class called broadcast journalism. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, we go on the radio. I'm like, wow, Sachem has a radio station? I was surprised to learn that. But, he told me that fellow friend of ours, Aiden Story, was in the class, and that he was in his group. and he said, I'd be a perfect fit for him, and that's when I knew that Arrow Up and broadcast journalism, that's where I knew this is where I belong.
I thought it was really cool. I had no idea that the program really existed. And to be invited to sit and speak and get to see you specifically do what you do and your level of professionalism and how seriously you guys took it, I thought it was really a very impressive thing to see you flourish in this way and to put out a legitimate radio program.
So originally I started in another group called Stats and Facts, and they were another sports group, and they weren't as good as Arrow Up, and I worked with them for a year, and I was like, you know what, I want to do something better. Brian invited me over here on Arrow Up, and never looked back.
I was very honored to be asked to be on Arrow Up. I think it's a great program. I enjoyed listening to it. It was great to be a part of it and get to talk sports with you guys and express my opinions and thoughts on everything.
Well, my experience with Arrow Up is it's my first time ever doing live radio, and that was on open school night, and I was very nervous, but it was very exciting, and I'm very happy I did it.
My experience with Arrow Up, I could joke around and say they were horrible and I didn't like them, but that is farthest from the truth. My experience with those guys were cool. I mean, at first, I'm not gonna lie, it was I didn't know what to expect because they're new to being broadcasters, they're new to doing talk radio, they're new to a lot of the experiences that's in radio, and they really took the bull by the horns, if you will, and made it work. And my experiences with them have been nothing but fantastic. I mean, there's not a bad thing I can think about that would I don't know, would tarnish, for lack of better words. They were great, good guys, very professional, and they worked hard. They worked hard, and they asked questions. They made sure that the job got done, which was really all that I can expect.
Hey, pretty cool this year having an opportunity to get on the radio. It's not something we had done in the past. So, when the guys approached me and asked if I wanted to give them 10 minutes on the radio, I was so happy to do it. And just really impressed by the guys, super prepared with great questions for us about the basketball program, about our season, about individual guys, about the history of the program, so just really awesome experience for me, and great for Sachem and great for the Sachem basketball program.
What Arrow Up means to me is it's a lot more than just a group. It really is like a brotherhood. We talk about the 5 pillars of Sachem all the time. It exemplifies the 9590 here that we show at Sachem, and it's a great group of guys that I'm, like I said before, very lucky to be a part of. Me, Tim, and Brian were friends prior to this. We'd hang out, spend a lot of time together, and to be able to get us 4 in a room together, already, we're all gelling, we're all connected. And we get to go live on air every week and do these fun shows and announce games. It really is like a dream come true, and it's something that not many high school students at all can get to say they did. And it's something I'm very happy with, very proud of, and I'm extremely happy that I got to get together with these guys and make Arrow Up what it is today. And is what I believe one of the best shows in the WSHR history.
Arrow Up meant a lot to me because it was letting me live out my lifelong dream, of being a broadcaster, sitting around a table, talking about sports, talking about events in the community, being able to broadcast games. So that meant a lot to me. And I mean, doing it with my best friends makes it even better,
To me, Arrow Up means brotherhood. I get to come here and do what I love doing with, my best friends. It means, something to look forward to on Mondays, as we always say in the show. And yeah, most importantly, it's just a great time, and it's a really cool thing to be able to do that on the radio station for the school. So that's what it means to me.
Wow, Arrow Up, it's meant a lot to me. The past 2 years, what we have gone through. To be able to meet and talk to so many great teachers and players and coaches, it's really been special to be able to expose myself to all these different people and all the ideas that they gather from the realm of sports, which is what Arrow Up was really centered of being around. So I think, meeting new people was really, the most important thing that I got out of this class and out of this station. I mean, this is one of the most useful things that you can have in the world, and we have it right here in our school. We should be grateful for it. My favorite memory with Arrow Up was not one actually that took place in the studio, not even on the campus of Sachem North. It was actually when I had the opportunity to broadcast the Sachem North football game with my buddy Tim Fair. That was very special to us. Be able to sit in that booth up in the risers. It was really special. Unfortunately, the game didn't pan out the way we wanted to, but nonetheless, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and something that we'd only dream of doing. Him and I, potentially going into fields of that work. So. To be able to live out that experience, it was really special.
For the favorite memory with Arrow Up, it's hard to pick just one. So many different times throughout the year where the fellas are getting along, having fun. I mean, people don't know is we love to have fun. We love to goof around behind the scenes and even on the air sometimes. And I think for me, that's my favorite memory in general. Just being able to mess around with these guys, some of my closest friends, talk on air, a bunch of people listening. We meet new staff, new faculty. It's great. Some of my favorite, we interviewed Coach Calvagna, Coach Caputo, some really great interviews. Get to learn a lot more about the teams and what they do and their role at the school. And it's just a lot of fun. There's so many different memories, but to pick just one little thing, it would be messing around behind the scenes, having fun, laughing. We love to pick on Brian. We love to pick on everyone. It's a lot of fun, and that's what we do at Arrow Up, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
My favorite memory on Arrow Up is tough because there's a lot to think about. I mean, from Tim doing his voice on Arrow Up to the countless marathons that I did, to Dr. Pelletieri coming on the show. But one of my favorite ones has got to be the Christmas episode. It's my favorite memory all around. Or when Alex and Tim walk into the studio holding Domino's boxes with a bottle of soda to bring in before the live show.
My favorite memory, other than all the countless times we made fun of Brian Evans out on the show, is the many shows we had with Dr. Pelletieri. It was a really great experience just getting to joke around with him and having him on the show.
Thank you for listening to Arrow Up. Something to look forward to on Mondays with no fire hazards.
Wow. And no dates. And ladies and gentlemen, we know you're...
This season we had the broadcast crew back at Sachem North after probably, a decades long, give or take, hiatus. And it was just great having them back. What it does for the building, for the community, that they can turn the radio on and hear a game, for the kids in the program that can go back and listen to the game. It's kind of exciting, and then for the gentlemen that did this for us, just the experience with the microphone in front of their mouths, broadcasting games, had to be pretty awesome for them too. So we loved having them back.
I think what we did for the broadcasting perspective of this was great. I mean, we brought back WSHR back to where it needed to be. I mean, doing broadcasts, live broadcasts, and doing just everything that needed to be done. I mean, we did live broadcasts here in the studio, and then we did the games, the broadcasting the games, and I think that was important. People wanted to listen to the games, and people would throw on their radio, listen to the high school basketball game, the baseball game, the football game, whatever it may be. We made sure people knew what was going on with high school sports. And I think that broadcasting the games was huge for us because it was a daunting task. Mr. Laura thought that we were going to get bored of it, that we weren't going to want to do it anymore, but we continued to do it because we wanted to do it.
So you don't have a score prediction, but you are taking the T-Birds to inevitably be the victor tonight.
Alex, I have to agree with the Connecticut take. I have to take Connecticut, and I have a final score prediction of 60-25 in the T-Birds' direction. So we're going to see as this all unfolds, as we'll be right back after this with the tip-off.
I tell you, Arrow Up has really contributed a lot to what we did. Now, pre-pandemic, we had some issues with students who, it was just, I don't know, I guess they either they didn't want to do it, they got scared of doing it, they were reluctant, or they started really hot and heavy and then they kind of said, you know what, this isn't for me, and stopped doing it, which was not good. And then of course pandemic hits, and then that just wrecks everything. And I was kind of in panic mode because, you know, that's one of the big things that SHR does, is we're a community radio station, and you know, this is our school. We want to get the games on the air. A lot of the coaches were asking, you know, whatever happened, and I didn't really have an answer except for pandemic, you know, which is kind of a lame excuse. But when you guys stepped in, and I mentioned, you know, what my expectations were, and you guys really took it to the next level and said, you know what, not only are we going to do the Arrow Up thing, but we're going to broadcast the games, which was fantastic. And you guys did. I mean, I know Brian was on the football team, so it was hard for him to you know, to do broadcasting of the football games, but the other guys picked up the pace. And then when basketball season came, you guys really took it and ran with it, pardon the pun, and made it work. And that was something that, you know, it was kind of a weird thing, because I'm like, these guys are gonna get bored of it. But you guys were relentless. You wanted to be there. You were excited about being there, and you did a really great job. So I mean, that's more than I could ever ask for, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And of course, the community and even the parents really enjoyed it. It had like a trickle effect where people found out about the games being broadcasted, and parents were listening to it. You know, the students who were playing on the teams were hearing it, and you guys started the momentum again, which was fantastic.
Seeing the Arrow Up reporters and personalities at some of our games this year, I remember walking into a basketball game, seeing the young men all dressed in the shirts and ties and doing interviews at halftime, pre-games, post-game. I really brought back memories to me of just seeing that on TV, and the professionals that do that, and our guys fit right into that. So very happy to see all that work, and it helps communicate all that we're doing in terms of sports in our school community again. So very happy that Arrow Up jumped into that foray.
So knowing that the Arrow Up guys were doing all of the sports games broadcasted, you know, I have 4 kids, so I can't make every game, although I wish I could, and I'm a diehard Sachem fan. So being able to listen to the radio while I'm in the car driving my kids to, you know, their own sporting events gave me the opportunity to keep up to pace with what's going on minute by minute with Sachem. So it's unbelievable that we can you know, hear the play-by-plays right on the radio. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to, you know, find it on the internet. It's right there, right on your radio station.
My favorite episode had to be the Christmas episode. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and it was just, the vibes were great, and we had a lot of fun that episode.
For my favorite episode of Arrow Up throughout the year, once again, that's such a hard question to answer, and just pick one. I think one of our best, no doubt, was the Christmas episode, the marathon throughout the whole day. I believe it was December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas. That's a whole lot of fun. I mean, you get to see tons of different staff and teachers, have different guys come in every day, and talk about Christmas. If you guys know, Christmas time is probably my favorite time of the year. I know it's Brian's favorite, and a whole lot more around the school, and to have the music playing, the decorations up and everything, it's really special, and it gets you in the spirit, and I think that's really important, especially at our age, you know, still having fun with everything. One of the best episodes for sure. And like I said before, the episodes where we're having fun, goofing off, I remember the Valentine's Day episode. That one was a really good one. Obviously at the time, I think it was before Alex had a girlfriend, and now he does. We were talking about that, which we kind of predicted on the show, if you go back to it, which is a lot of fun. Great episode that day. We busted Brian's chops because I believe he is the only single one, so that's pretty funny. So great episode on Valentine's Day as well. I think the holiday episodes, to sum it up, are really good. The Easter marathon as well. A lot of great episodes, really hard to choose from, but the Christmas and the Valentine's Day ones are the best ones for me.
When it comes to favorite episodes, I think there are 2 that really stand out to me for this year in Arrow Up's journey. First one has to be our first live show. I mean, that one was special. You know, it was a very highly anticipated moment, and you know, to be able to live that out, it was really just something great. You know, we had one live show where it was open school night, and we were, having the live show during open school night. It was for, a project for Mr. Wesson's class, but it was more than just a project for us, and, the boys were having such a great time. The other one that really stands out for me for this year was, there was one episode where the fellas went out and, got some Dominoes before one of our episodes, and we were, munching on that in the studio, making sure everything was sanitary, of course. You don't want anything bad happening, taking care of the equipment and everything as always. That was just, a silly episode that we had going on, and it was just all around great vibes, and when the vibes are great, the show is going to be great, and those were, two of the shows that really stood out to me this year.
The most memorable episode on WSHR for me, or during Arrow Up, had to either be the 4-hour live show from Christmas time or our Christmas episode that we released. We released a really cool Christmas episode. I also really enjoyed every episode we did with Dr. Pelletieri. So I think that those were all really good and really cool for us. So it's tough, it's tough to think about.
So you guys definitely grew as a show when you guys took the class as juniors. You guys had a good start, but throughout the course of that year and then this year, you guys definitely took off and have improved tremendously.
I remember the first time was last year, a couple years ago. I listened to Arrow Up the first time, and it was the first time I heard Brian's voice on the radio, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But you could tell he was kind of new, a little nervous, and wow, did they improve? And this year it was like a different show. They've really grown into become like the voice of Sachem North, especially Sachem North sports, with the interviews and everything else that they had. I found myself listening to it a lot.
It was an interesting ride, because at first, like I was saying in the beginning, wasn't exactly sure where they were going to go with it. I know in the beginning it was a little rough because they weren't used to being on the air, and then it just kind of clicked. And they went, if you pardon the expression, I'm going to use a Z100 expression, going from worst to first. They at first they were rough. They were a little rough, a little choppy, and then as time went on, they just got better and better and better. And the thing that I liked about what they did was they always strive to be better, and that's really the goal of doing what we do here at our school radio station. Is you come from a starting point and you always try your best to be better, and that's what these guys did.
I think Arrow Up put WSHR back on the map. I think that it was, there were radio stations going all the time. Some fizzled out, they weren't really consistent. But I think that the guys from Arrow Up definitely made a point of bringing in people from around the school. In the past, staff members weren't really asked to come on the radio, and it was kind of you walk past the radio station, you really didn't know what was going on in there unless you stopped to interrupt and ask. So really it opened up conversations throughout our staff here.
I think what Arrow Up did for WHSR is really important. It brought a lot of, I think, new listeners to the station. I think it really helped enliven it and bring it back to the forefront. It's a great communication tool for us. I want to see that we continue to utilize it. I came on, talked about budget, talked about a great many things in the school community, put some information out there. So I found it a valuable venue for us. So I think it really helped bring the radio station back to the fore. A lot of more ears and eyes brought to the radio station.
I think Arrow Up kind of brought WSHR back into the students' minds, because I didn't think many people were listening to it before Arrow Up really got going. So I think they did a lot for WSHR.
Like I said, I had no idea that we still had a radio program. So if I had never been invited to speak or to participate in an interview, I never would have known that it existed. And now it's preset on my car. So the times that Bluetooth doesn't take over, that's in my rotation of stations that I listen to. And if Arrow Up didn't exist, I definitely wouldn't have known it was there.
So one thing that Arrow Up did is you guys definitely brought back our Sachem North sports broadcasting. We've been trying to do that for years now, and with your passion and your energy for it, we've seen broadcasts of basketball, we've seen broadcasts of baseball, football, and definitely dove into interviewing the coaches, the athletes, and that's something we hope to continue for the future.
Yeah, I think Arrow Up definitely did a lot for the student body and the staff here at Sachem North. Really, I know that those gentlemen really went out of their way to try to get as many people involved with the radio station and kind of make it a little bit of a focal point for dialogue and things that were going on in the school and in the community. I know personally it brought me into the MMP show, the Manly Mauer Power Hour, hosted by Brian Avanzato, Tuesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. So I know that it created a lot of opportunities and just really gave a next level sense of school spirit and involvement in the school, which I don't think we can have enough of these days. So that was probably the best thing that Arrow Up brought to the table.
Guys did a lot. It was, again, very unexpected, but it worked. The cool thing is you guys really gelled, and you made it interesting and fun to listen to, which is really hard to do talk radio that way. But what you've done is you've created I guess a synergy. Bad sorry, and I do radio. You created a synergy that was really cool. It was fun. You made it at a level where not only can adults listen to it, but young people can listen to it as well. And that was just the start of it. As far as what you guys did, getting people to listen to it, it was pretty miraculous that you started off with a small amount of listeners, your friends, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, the show and what you guys were doing on the air as far as the sports coverages and the interviews, it really started to have a life of its own and gain tremendous momentum. And next thing I know, I had complete strangers coming up to me and saying, "Oh yeah, you're the guy with the radio station. Hey, Arrow Up. Wow, it's a great show, man. Oh my God, those guys are funny. They're cool. They really know a lot about high school sports and sports in general and da 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 da." And it was just really carrying on to bigger than I ever expected it to be. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, like I said before, I think Arrow Up is something that should be continued here at Sachem. I think it gives a different light to the athletics here at Sachem. And any time that we can take an academic program and shine light on the athletic program, I think it's going to be beneficial for all of the community and the students and the administration here at Sachem.
So I used to walk past, obviously, the station room all the time and think back to my childhood and youth when radio stations were things that happened regularly. I thought it was kind of just abandoned, like so many other things that end up getting lost with time. So I had no idea that it was still up and running and that you guys were still on regularly.
It's funny. I can remember when Brian asked me to come on the radio show for the interview with the flag football team, and the first thought in my mind was radio show. Like, what do you mean? Like, are we gonna go to a studio somewhere? Like what radio show is it? And then when he said it was actually a radio show ran here on campus or in our building, I was shocked. I came from a school, at my old high school, we had a radio station. But when I went back to start teaching there, it was defunct. Like, became a place where, students hung out basically and didn't do much, of what you see here. I mean, I'm sure this is high quality professional equipment that they're using. There's 2 different radio stations, or a substation and a main station, whatever way they call it in the radio world. I don't know. But it's awesome to see this and see everything that's available for our students to be able to, branch out in the world, because as teachers we all know that not every student's is college ready or college made or made to sit in the classroom learning calculus, math, or English and reading books. Or kids have artistic sides, and this allows them to be creative and explore their creativity. So it's awesome, and I didn't know that it was here, but once we got here, I started hanging out with the boys some more, and next thing you know, we came up with the idea of coming up with a radio show. And now Manly Mauer Power Hour has overtaken Arrow Up as the #1 show here at Sachem Radio.
I was very surprised when I was asked to be interviewed on Arrow Up, because, to be quite honest, I didn't even know the radio station was still active, nor did I realize it had live students working the radio, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely knew that the station was still an entity here at Sachem. Mr. Laura, I talk to him pretty frequently and interact with him. So I would say probably after COVID, it kind of slowed down a little bit. I think maybe some of the shows really kind of came to a halt, but I think that the Arrow Up squad was definitely influential in kind of bringing more publicity back to the radio station and getting more people involved. Clearly those guys kind of knowing a lot of different students and staff, I think really got people back onto the 91.9 dial. So, obviously as school counselor, I knew that there was still a program here, but I think it was definitely only enriched and enlightened by the Arrow Up crew.
Very difficult to describe Arrow Up on one word, but I would say incredible. I just think that the personalities, the opportunity, the music, the way the guys blended everything in, it really allowed us to glimpse into the life of a high school student and see what's going on, especially one that was really interested in terms of sports and personality. And it's been a great time working with the Arrow Up gentlemen.
All right, Arrow Up, to me, is like a hidden gem. I didn't really know about WSHR, let alone Arrow Up, until I worked at East and realized how great having a radio station is and how unique it is for a high school to have a radio station, let alone a program that you have a bunch of students that are running that far exceeds a lot of the shows that you'll watch that are professionally done. So just the varying topics, all the information that you get, it's always fun. And then knowing the people without being able to see them, obviously, because you listen to the radio, but knowing them and seeing them in the halls the next day and having those conversations is pretty cool.
So what I'm going to say about Arrow Up, simply so much fun. Just fun to listen to.
Yeah, I guess I would say that the Arrow Up crew would be, one word would be special. Definitely a unique program. I don't really recall a lot of students ever putting together anything similar to Arrow Up, and I think that those guys just had a really solid pulse of the building, touched on a bunch of different topics, made it fun and lively, and kind of just did things in the best of manners you could expect for high school students to do it. So special would be how I would describe the Arrow Up crew.
When we had Tenzin on the station here, that was really meaningful episode. That was impactful to myself and to everyone else that was part of it. I mean, I know Ms. Zuma was a part of it, I was a part of it, and we had James Origo being a part of it as well, and everyone that was a part of it. I mean, Mr. Larson helped set it up, knew that was going to have a huge impact. And when I told Mr. Laura about it, he was just over the roof excited. He couldn't wait to do this interview with Tenzin and see what it was going to sound like. And it was so sentimental to me, and I still have a great relationship with Tenzin now. And I mean, it was an emotional episode, to say the least. But I think that it was very important for people to know that this happened in the school. And again, that's another thing. That was a big event. The whole school was outside, and that's where Arrow Up strived. But that was an episode that I personally will never forget, and definitely is one of my favorites. It's definitely the most memorable, and it's the most emotional, and it's just one that I'm never, ever going to forget.
Oh, this is a tough one. Not because it's not an amazing thing that happened, but it's tough to keep emotion out of it. Having Tenzin at our school, just to begin with, was an unbelievable experience. It was one of those things that, it's a once in a lifetime thing. It's not something that schools get to do all the time. And then, when Brian came to me about the interview with Tenzin, I thought, oh my God, that's such an amazing opportunity. Why not? And to see him on the radio with his headphones on, sitting here with all the rest of the guys, the smile on his face was unreal. I don't know who was having more fun, the people doing the interviewing or Tenzin. It was, I think that's one of those things, those memories that he'll have for a long, long time.
It's a very solid question. Things are often replicated or duplicated, but never as successful as the original. I don't think another show could do what these guys did. You know, they started out as, you know, just dudes being dudes talking sports, you know, and showing love and care for their high school and the athletics in their high school and supporting them, to doing live broadcasts on radio during basketball games, which in itself has to be a daunting task because, you know, they're 18, 17, 16 years old and they're, you know, on live radio calling basketball games, you know, for their home school. And, you know, I'm sure they caught a lot of slack, you know, from kids because they picked the away team to win a game and, you know, they didn't support, you know, Sage of North. But at the end of the day, that shows how professional you have to be in this field. You know, you can't, you know, play on feelings, and you can't sit there and just, you know, think about what other people got to say. You got to be a reporter or a journalist and, you know, do what you got to do. And so I don't think Arrow Up itself will ever be duplicated because, again, the chemistry that these guys had, they're all great friends. You know, you could tell they honestly like being around each other. It's not like one of those things where you just report for work and, you know, go home for the day. They actually hang out. They like each other. And you can't get that. The chemistry is where it matters, you know? So I'm not saying there can't be another show like Arrow Up, but I don't think there would be a show like Arrow Up because, again, a bunch of dudes being dudes, hanging out and doing what they do and doing what they love is, you know, that beats everything. So, you know, Arrow Up, baby.
When I think about Arrow Up, can it be replicated? Can it continue? You know, one of the things I challenge the young men with from Arrow Up is to try to create a follow-up team, someone that's going to come in their footsteps because they've done an incredible job. I don't think it can be replicated because of the way that they all fit in together, the way they flow in and out of the conversations, the personalities, the chemistry. So I don't know if it could be replicated, but certainly someone could create something similar. And I would hope that someone would. We have to carry this forward and make sure that people know what's going on with WSHR and Arrow Up.
Do I think you can be duplicated? No, I think that to have something like this continue, I think is amazing to highlight our sports programs, highlight the things that kids are doing here. I think it's a really interesting approach and I would love to see it continue. Can it be duplicated? I mean, no, the personalities won't be the same. Definitely won't be the same.
Oh, I think it could be. Well, I don't know if you can ever replicate it with you guys doing it specifically, but I think Arrow Up should be something that becomes part of the tradition here at Sachem to get young men or women involved in the radio broadcast and the sporting industry. I think it's very important. I think it's great for the students to hear the perspectives and to have them be involved with the games. When you guys were at the basketball game, I thought it was fantastic, all coming in dressed up in your shirt and tie and everything. I think it was great for the student body.
Can Arrow Up be relived or recreated? Surprisingly, yes, because you guys set a high bar and we all will only have to pass that high bar that you set going forward.
I don't know if Arrow Up could be replicated, obviously, because of the personalities involved. The concept of Arrow Up should be replicated, and hopefully there are some students that are interested in enough in sports and also our radio station, you know, to jump in and have some fun with this. I often feel that our radio station shows come and go, and the really good shows maybe last for a couple of years and then they die out, and it's as if, you know, no one knew that they had the opportunity to take it. So to all the kids out there that have any interest in this, just come see me, come see Mr. Laura, and get on the radio.
This is a question I can answer very simply. Yes and no. But as far as, and I'll have to kind of explain this a little bit. As far as the group dynamic, you can never emulate what those guys at Arrow Up did, because every person in that group has their own personalities that contribute to the show. So the way the show worked, the way it sounded on the air, the way the guys did the show, that part can never be duplicated. Now, when I said the yes part, yes, can a show like it be done? on the air again? I'm hoping. Again, it takes, when you create a talk show, it takes work. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of structuring. It also takes the right kind of people to make that show happen. Can it happen again? Yes. I don't think it'll sound exactly the same, but hopefully maybe in the future we'll have another group that will carry that legacy on.
Listen, I think if the boys decided to kind of do a remote thing where they can still record from their various colleges or places where they'll be after Sachem, I think it can definitely be recreated. And, as far as replacing those guys, I don't think they're going to be replaceable, but the format of Arrow Up is definitely something that I think other students listening to and getting a little bit of a feel for could certainly try to have a Arrow Up 2.0. I don't know if it would ever be the same, but I know that those guys are the type of gentlemen that would want to try to coach those next wave up and potentially pass the baton, if you will. So it could try to be replicated, but never duplicated. There's only one Arrow Up.
I mean, if it was a show like MMP, then anybody can do that one. But I don't think this one can be replicated, because to find the chemistry between the hosts is probably the hardest part of coming up with a good show like that.
Arrow can definitely be recreated. I think another group will definitely be able to follow in the footsteps that we set. I don't think that they're going to relive necessarily what we were able to do in terms of having the extreme chemistry that we had. I mean, being able to bounce off each other's ideas, laugh on the show while having so much class, and just being, Coach Caputo said we were 9-5-90 broadcasters. We knew that what we said, E plus R equals our events, our reactions are going to equal our outcome, and there was a few times we needed that. But we were classy on the air. We were always gritty, and we were always able to do what was right. But I don't think anyone's going to be able to recreate that part of it. But someone's definitely going to be able to recreate and relive and keep building off of what we did essentially build for the sports department of Sachem North. What was your experience with Arrow Up? You can go.
Okay. Normally they say, act, or, whatever the directors say during.
So sometimes.
Borders.
Yeah, until later on you see the lawsuit. Yeah, exactly.
I remember when we were driving in your car, speed so fast, felt like I was drunk. City lights laid out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder, and I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone.